Fathers of Reddit. In honor of Father's Day, what was your "don't tell your mother about this" moment? One night when I was about 8, after I had gone to bed, my dad was playing a Nintendo game, Legend of Zelda I think. We had both been playing it but we were stuck. He finally found a secret passage, paused the game, and came upstairs to wake me up. He told me he figured out where we were stuck, snuck me downstairs in a blanket I'm sure my mom knew, and I got to stay up after midnight on a school night, hiding under a blanket, to see where the hidden passage went. It was a silly little incident, but very memorable. And for my dad took me to my first MLB game, God I miss baseball, winking, and told me not to tell my mom. Later found out it was because the game was a good bit outside of the travel radius set in the custody agreement. They were arguing a lot more than usual at the time, so he knew Mom would say no if he asked about it, but really wanted to take me to a game. Told me not to say anything so she couldn't use it against him while trying to take him to family court again. Luckily I didn't say anything and we got to keep sneaking away to games until the travel radius stopped being a thing. Dad still has the tickets too. Dad and I used to rent a movie each week for when Mom had dinner with friends. Usually things like Star Trek or action films. One day, I was about 11, he came home with Blade. We got about 10 minutes in, and he turns to me and said, "Don't tell your mother about this, let's just say I forgot to get it this week." Of course I agree. Fast forward 7-ish years, Dad blithely drops at the dinner table the fact that we watched Blade when I was about 11. Silly Dad thought there was some kind of statute of limitations on this. For my dad and I it was cop movies like Last Boy Scout, Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, etc. At the time my mom lost her shit when she found out I was fond of those kind of TV movies, cause I'd already seen the theatrical versions now. Not a father, but I was with my dad, and we thought it was a good idea to start a small fire, on the porch, the wooden porch. It was made of mostly paper, and we made sure to scatter the embers and everything but after we went inside and to bed. The wind must have kicked up, because we came outside the next day and there was a giant hole burned into the porch. My dad just told me, "Hey, don't tell your mom, I'll get it fixed." He proceeded to cover it with a small table. She found out anyway and we're pretty lucky that the house didn't burn down. When I was in middle school I was the only one willing to go shopping groceries with my dad. He didn't want to go alone and my mom was at school studying her master's. None of my siblings wanted to go with him. We used to go to Carl's Jr., have a big breakfast, and then we went grocery shopping. Nobody knew, not even my mom, until years later. He would also let me buy any cereal I wanted. That's actually how I learned how to buy good fruit and veggies, how to order meat and fish, etc. When my siblings found out they were angry BC they would have gone if a big breakfast was on the menu. My mom just laughed. Nowadays they sneak to have breakfast together before going grocery shopping since we're all grown up. Edit, thank you so much for the award. Not exactly because we were caught in the act, but here we go. When I was 10 years old I was in a head-on car crash with my dad and my little brother. My dad ended up with 2 shattered feet and he was in a wheelchair after getting out of hospital. Now my dad did stereotypical dad things around the house before this happened and being stuck in a wheelchair was difficult for him. One day while my mom was out it was just the 2 of us in the house. Suddenly I'm being called by my dad to go grab the lawnmower and the trimmer. My dad had decided to cut the grass while in his wheelchair. So 10-year-old me does as she's told and grabs what needs to be grabbed and plus everything in as told. I move what needs to be moved into the garden but there's one problem. Dad can't get into the garden in his chair. The entrance is just too narrow. So my father, being the reckless and mischievous man that he is, comes up with a plan. He's going to lift himself up using the garden wall. I'm to collapse the chair and move it through and then reopen it so he can sit down. The pressure is on. Little 10-year-old me is ready to go. He gets himself up and we manage it in one try. After that cutting the grass together was fairly simple, but by this point we'd attracted the attention of the neighbors. My neighbor from across the road was frantic when she saw what we were doing. Husbands from other households were joking my dad was making them look bad. Then, the jig was up. Mum was home. I didn't get into trouble exactly, but Mum never let us live down. Edit, spelling edit, so this kinda blew up. Thank you for the awards. I'm gonna show my dad all the comments tomorrow. I'm sure he'll appreciate so much talk about his balls. TLDR. My wheelchair-bound father made me an accomplice in his garden mowing escapades. My 3-year-old wakes up in the middle of the night, like maybe 3 times a month. Instead of putting her back to sleep, okay, her stay up and partake in whatever it is I am doing no matter what. Sometimes she falls asleep in minutes and sometimes she stays up for a couple hours. I think it's amazing times. I think it may even be dreamlike for her by the way she speaks and moves. She has painted with me, heard my books read aloud, watched Lord of the Rings and cooked creme brulee. The rule is, it's my time, so if she's gonna be with me she does what I'm doing just like I do for her all day long. She totally gets it and never makes it about her. My goodness, thank you everybody for your comments and your awards. What a special day to be recognized as a father. One night I was enjoying a small bit of ice cream after my 4-year-old daughter went to bed. She came downstairs and caught me. So I offered her a small bite, but since she was supposed to be in bed, I said, "Don't tell Mom." She assured me she wouldn't. My wife wouldn't have cared anyway, but it was a fun little game to play. After she went up to bed and I was down on the couch, she snuck into the master bedroom where Mom was resting. She told Mom that I had let her have some ice cream, and she was afraid of sugar bugs, so could she please brush her teeth again? My wife just laughed at me the next day. Little shit ratted me out to brush her teeth, something she doesn't like doing anyway. A female coworker of mine was miserable at work one day. I asked her what was wrong. She told me it was her anniversary, and she knew her husband had forgotten. She had preteen girls at home during summer vacation. I knew her home phone number, pre-cell phone era. I called her home phone and one kid picked up. Explained to the kid who I was and that she needed to call Dad at work and remind him it was Mom and Dad's anniversary. And don't tell Mom or Dad I called. The next day she was all smiles. Gosh, he did remember, brought home flowers and took her to dinner. Mission accomplished. Not a word was ever said about this. Until 6 years later, when she left the company. She gave me a hug at a farewell luncheon, and whispered, "My kids ratted you out. Thank you." When my son was 6 I was playing Grand Theft Auto late at night. He wakes up and comes to the living room, tells me he can't sleep, and asks can he watch me play. I say he can, but not to tell his mom. He agrees with a big smile. Maybe after about an hour he is playing and I'm watching and helping him. He can't stop laughing, driving into people and running from the cops. I was telling him to watch out for the 5-0 and he asks me what that means, so I tell him it's the cops. He just shrugs and keeps playing. Now fast forward about a week later and we are all driving in the car. All I hear is a scream of "Dad, watch out, it's the 5-0. And I absolutely start crying from laughing so hard, all while his mother is questioning where he learned that. He just says YouTube. She found out later that I let him play too, but I hope the memory of that is as special to him as it is to me.